and Guy Daugherty. And then honorary pallbearers are all those that have been customers of Hullum Barbershop. And I'm also told, if you want to know more stories than we're going to tell today, that there's several pioneer families in this community, the Eblings and the Hullums and the Millettes, and I mean, I could keep going, I guess, and list a bunch of families, Lewis's, and on, and give you all kinds of stories that they told me that we couldn't tell in front of a congregation. But emphasis of this celebration service today is going to be the importance of family and community. And because family and community was important to Thomas and the Hullum family, faith was what drove involvement in community and family. So we want to celebrate. You're going to hear a lot of really neat stories today as we celebrate Thomas's life and as we seek to comfort the family. I know we're not going to tell what story might be important to you, but you please take some time in the next week or two to holler at Bernice or Jeff or Luann or any of the family and let them know this is what your dad meant to me, or this is what your husband meant to me. And that will continue to help to honor them in the days ahead. Let's pray. Gracious Father, we want to thank you this morning for your love. It's because of your love and your demonstration of love that you were able to give your son Jesus to be our Savior. And it was his love and going to the cross for our sins, shedding his blood so that we could have forgiveness, and being resurrected so that we could have a promise of life eternal, promise of life after our days on this earth are over. We want to celebrate today one of your servants, one of your men that had an impact, a great impact on his family and on this community. And so we're very thankful today that we can celebrate together the life you've given to us as your children, the life you've given to this community. And we just really want to celebrate the community that you have provided for us here. There's so many families that are represented today have lived here for centuries. And we just thank you that they're still here, that they're still contributing, and that they're still demonstrating love for their fellow man. We just thank you and praise you for that and pray this in Christ's name. Amen. At this time, we're going to have, I believe, let me look at this. We're going to have a song led by Mike Lewis, and then obituary by Brent Buck. Is that the way you got it down, guys? Andy's going to go first, and then Brent, and then Precious Memories, and we'll just go on. Video is now.
When I get where I'm going, on the far side of the sky, the first thing that I'm gonna do is spread my wings and fly. I'm gonna land beside a lion and run my fingers through his mane, or I might find out what it's like to ride a drop of rain. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, there'll be only happy tears. I will shed the sins and struggles I have carried all these years, and I'll leave my heart wide open. I will love and have no fear. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, don't cry for me down here. I'm gonna walk with my granddaddy, and he'll match me step for step, and I'll tell him how I've missed him every minute since he left. And then I'll hug his neck. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, and I see my Maker's face, I'll stand forever in the light of His
dream. So I turn out the lights and lay there in the dark, and a thought crosses my mind: if I never wake up in the morning, would she ever doubt the way I feel about her in my heart? If tomorrow never comes, will she know how much I loved her? Did I try in every way to show her every day that she's my only one? And if my time on earth were through, she must face this world without me. Is the love I gave her in the past gonna be enough to last if tomorrow never comes? 'Cause I've lost loved ones in my life who never knew how much I loved them. Now I live with the regret that my true feelings for them never were revealed. So I made a promise to myself to say today how much she means to me, and avoid that circumstance where there's no second chance to tell her how I feel. 'Cause if tomorrow never comes, will she know how much I loved her? Did I try in every way to show her every day that she's my only one? And if my time on earth were through, she must face this world without me. Is the love I gave her in the past gonna be enough to last?
Couple cane posts sitting down by the creek, lines in the water, watching those bobbers, seeing that red sun sink. Mama's on the porch yelling supper's hot, y'all come and get it. We yelled 5 more minutes. At 16 it was 12:03, standing at her front door. And Katie's dad said midnight, but we needed just a little more. Yellow light flipping on and off, interrupting that good night kissing. We wanted 5 more minutes. Time rolls by, the clock don't stop. I wish I had a few more drops of the good stuff, the good times. Oh, but they just keep on flying right on by like it ain't nothing. I wish I had me a pause button. Moments like those, Lord knows I'd hit it. angels in the room. All the family gathered round, knew the time was coming soon. With so much left to say, I prayed, Lord, I ain't finished, just give us 5 more minutes. Time rolls by, the clock don't stop. I wish I had a few more drops of the good stuff, the good times. Oh, but they just keep on flying right on by like it ain't nothing. I wish I had me a pause button. Moments like those, Lord knows I'd hit. Yeah, sometimes this old life will leave you wishing that you had 5 more.
Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Sometimes it feels like this world's gone crazy. Grandpa, take me back to yesterday, when the line between right and wrong didn't seem so hazy. Did lovers really fall in love to stay, stand beside each other, come what may? Is promise really something people kept, not just something they would say? Families really bow their heads to pray. Daddies really never go away. Oh, oh, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Grandpa, everything is changing fast. We call it progress, but I just don't know. And Grandpa, let's wander back into the past, then paint me the picture of long ago. Lovers really fall in love to stay, stand beside each other, come what may. Is promise really something people kept, not just something they would say and then forget? Families really bow their heads to pray. Daddies really never go away. Oh, oh, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days.
I remember Daddy's hands folded silently in prayer, and reaching out to hold me when I had a nightmare. You could read quite a story in the calluses and
we can let everybody stay seated as we sing this one. After we sing this first hymn, Brent, you can come up and give the obituary. Okay, let's sing. Have you a heart that's weary, tending a load of care? Are you a soul that's seeking rest from the burden you bear? Do you know my Jesus? Do you know my friend? Have you heard he loves you and that he will abide till the end? Where is your heart, O pilgrim? What does your light reveal? Who hears you call for comfort when naught but sorrow you feel? Do you know my Jesus? Do you know my friend? Have you heard he loves you and that he will abide till the end?
I've been asked to read some things from the grandchildren. I'm going to start with Sky. Sitting in an unfamiliar barber chair for the first time in over 35 years, I was asked, what is the one thing you feel you have learned from your grandpa that sticks with you? As I sat and thought about that for a second, there are two obvious, one that sticks out to me. One being his love for his family. It's impossible to question his love, being it was very, very rare he missed a chance to watch a sporting event of a grandchild or a great-grandchild, or maybe the fact he's been happily married longer than most of us are alive today. Now, Sky wrote this. I don't know if I said that. This is from Sky. The other thing that stood out was his work ethic. I grew up watching a man 60, 70, 80 years old, and all the way to almost 94, never slowed down. Ironic being his car never went over 55 miles an hour. He also told me, work hard, save your money. I once swept, this is from Thomas, I once swept the old Marble Falls Bridge with a push broom for 10 cents an hour. One of my best stories is when I was about 13 years old helping Pappy cut a tree falling outside my house. He always used a chainsaw when we cut brush and always gave me a dull axe. Probably for a good reason. As I swung the axe, it ricocheted off the tree and hit me right in the shin. I immediately got sick feeling to my stomach, seeing blood run down my leg into my sock. And for those of you that don't know, I'm not good with blood. Pappy saw me rolling around on the ground and came over to check on me. He handed me a rag to clean up the blood, and I asked, "You want to take a break with me, Pappy?" He replied, "You can. I'm going to get back to work." Now, this is from Shayla, and I like to say little Shayla, because I was fortunate enough to watch that little athlete grow up. Pappy always said, "Don't waste your money on unnecessary things." He always showed me the difference between what is needed and what is wanted. One of my favorite stories to tell about him saving money was when I spent the night with him. We were all about to go rest our eyes, as he would say. And he told me that he turned on the air conditioning in my room, in my bedroom. I was very surprised to hear him say that. He even had an AC in that room. She didn't realize there was an AC in that room, because AC to him was not a necessary thing. Once I entered the room, I didn't feel or see any air conditioning blowing. I said, "Pappy, there isn't an air conditioner in here." Pappy laughed and said, "I pulled up the window for you." I couldn't help but laugh and sweat thinking about the night ahead of me. "Pappy, you will be remembered by many, and I will always be thankful for the life lessons that you taught me. Love you always, Shayla Aspin." Now, this is memories shared by the granddaughters Sonia and Starla. Webster Dictionary simply defines a grandpa as a father of one's mother or father. That definition was clearly written by someone who never had a pappy like ours. Pappy was the father to our mother, but he was so much more than that. For over 40 years, we have both been blessed with many memories. But one of our fondest is when Mimi and Pappy would decorate the house for Christmas. Some of you probably remember it wasn't just your ordinary Christmas lights. As a child, it was a magical and felt just like Santa's house. From the wooden custom cutouts, Mimi and Pappy made it to be real life. Santa, Miss Claus, and their elves. We all had a role, and we dressed the part, bringing to life the spirit of Christmas, to burn it, and for many years. When we were young, early elementary age, Mimi and Pappy took us on a vacation to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, to see the Passion Play. As sisters can often be, we didn't always get along, and Pappy knew driving to Arkansas would be a long car ride. As we were pulling out of Burnett, Pappy said in one of those stern voices, "Girls, there's no fighting, or we're going to turn this car around." We must have known he meant business, because he said we got along great all week. As the story goes, we were on our way home about an hour from Burnett, and the bickering started. Pappy said, "Girls, if you don't stop fighting, we're going to turn this car around, and I'm going to head back to Arkansas." We laughed about that for years and later gifted him with a t-shirt that said, "Don't make me turn this car around." Pappy took Sonia on her first ever driving lesson at the age of 11. Even before she could reach the pedal, Pappy worked the pedal. Son worked the wheel. Starla, age 5, could not be left behind, so she rode shotgun beside Pappy. Driving the back roads of County Road 333, Sonia stayed running off the road. Pappy slammed on the brakes. Starla's head hit the dashboard. The dashboard still has a dent, and we can all look for it. Starla's eye still has a scar. That was Pappy's one and only driving lesson for his grandkids. He never stopped apologizing because he felt terrible. For 25 years, Mimi and Pappy were vendors at the trade days in Wimberley, Texas. We loved nothing more than tagging along and helping them see their goods, although we were likely in the way. He always had a wad of cash in his pocket. It was all ones, but we didn't care. We thought he was rich. It's funny, though, no one lived a more conservative lifestyle. To us, seeing a penny on the ground is just a penny. But to Pappy, taught us to never walk past the penny without picking it up. Find 99 more and you got $1. If you ever been in the barber shop, which probably most of us has, you've probably seen the sign that says, "I buy junk and sell antique." No sign was more true about Pappy. Early on in Mom and Dad's marriage, he told Dad he would pick him up one early Saturday morning to teach him how to flip items and make supplementary income. Dad took $100 cash with him. They rode around, going to various garage sales. Dad's first purchase was a bowling ball. Pappy said, "You don't buy things you like, you buy things you can sell." Like that chain and those tires. Dad said he looked at the chain and tires and thought, whatever. Dad laughs now because he sold and doubled his money on everything. Pappy suggested that he buy. Yet years later, he had to throw the bowling ball away. A lot of people would say Pappy was a man of few words. And maybe he was. But the words he spoke were wise. He was our very own farmer almanac. As kids, when the meteorologists would say or predict snow, we couldn't wait to call Pappy and see if he thought it was going to snow. Most of the time, his predictions were right, and usually his answer was justified by the way the cows were acting or the direction the worms were crawling. He could also tell when we were getting a sore throat before we even knew it by the way our breath smelled. And in true Pappy fashion, he would sometimes cover for us. If we were being sassy or misbehaving, he would say, "I don't think they feel good." He knew all the old wise tales. This might not be an old wise tale many of you have heard, but Pappy always told us that eating onions would make you pretty. So Shayla ate a bunch of onions. And later told his grandson and great-grandsons that eating onions will grow hair on your chest. Growing up, we never looked to see if Mimi and Pappy were there supporting us. We just knew they were there. They never missed anything that we were a part of. Pappy probably sat through more dance recitals than he'd care to admit. But he always made us feel like there was nowhere else he'd rather be. Supporting his family was the top priority, and he did it for 3 generations. Pappy was always such a hard worker. He enjoyed hard work and would often tell us he planned to retire when he got old. But he wasn't all about hard work. He also liked to have fun. He was always up to something, from throwing cow chips at the grandkids, throwing napkins or his straw wrappers at you from across the table, or teaching the kids how to rope in the backyard. He wanted to remain active less than a week before becoming ill. He was in Belton at Journey's volleyball game playing tag in the high school parking lot with his great-grandson. The memories we have with him are a blessing. Pappy, we can't promise you that we will always drive on the right and 55 miles an hour like you always reminded us to do. But we do promise to always live our life to be more like you. You lived your life every day being kind, loving, and a God-fearing person. We are convinced that if the world had more Pappies, it would be much better than it is today. We thank God that your life and love and the legacy you left behind. You know, I used to look for him. Any group of people that were anywhere in this town, I looked for him. And I had a tendency to pick on him, but he started it. You know, we're talking about a legend. Think about this guy. Every one of you have probably the same story I do. He cut my dad's hair. He gave my brother his first haircut. He cut my hair. He cut my son's hair. He cut my grandson's hair this past summer. He's a legend. We're talking about a Burnett legend. And when I was looking for him, he always said the same thing to me. When he saw me, he'd start going, "Now you get on now, I don't want no trouble." And you know I can start trouble. He would go, "Get on now, I don't want no trouble." Well, I'm not going to start any trouble, but I'm going to keep on. I'm going to get on, but I'm going to keep on. I'm going to keep on looking for him. Because if I'm fortunate enough to see him again, then I know I made it to a good place. Because he's in a good place. Thank you.
Let's sing 3 verses of this one. Precious memories, unseen angels, sent from somewhere to my soul. How they linger ever near me, and the sacred past unfold. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul.
Good afternoon. My name is Andy Meyer. I'd like to thank the family for asking me to speak today and giving me the honor and privilege to honor Mr. Hullum's life as a pallbearer and a speaker. They asked me to read a poem titled Broken Chain by Ron Trunmer. We little knew the day that God was going to call your name. In life we loved you dearly, and death we do the same. It broke our hearts to lose you, but you didn't go alone. For part of us went with you the day God called you home. You left us peaceful memories. Your love is still our guide. And though we cannot see you, you're always at our side. Our family chain is broken, and nothing seems the same. But as God calls us one by one, the chain will link again. Thank you.
Thank you for celebrating with us. I'll mention again, there are some seats up here. If you get tired of standing, we'll be here in a few more minutes. Bernice, you're amazing. You and Thomas have done an awful lot for this community, and we deeply appreciate all that y'all have meant to us. And I think the things that Brent said just a minute ago are very true. We are going to miss, and I think he used the right word, legend. He's one of those that have been here for a long time. Some of your families have been here for a long time, and many of you here today are part of those families, and so we're very, very grateful. You know, Thomas Hullum was quite a guy. He even loved Burnett football back when he was a Burnett football player. Some of you may have seen some of this information. By the way, he was the heaviest player on a 24-man team at 165 pounds. And at that weight, he played on the line and a linebacker. He enjoyed livestock. I guess he's always owned calves, cows, and whatever. And one of the great stories of his early life is he enjoyed showing calves and livestock far and near. When he was 16 years old, he drove himself and a friend to compete in the Houston Livestock Show. Now, for those of us that aren't really good at math, this is like 1946 or 7, maybe 45. A long time ago, from here to Houston, 16 years old. He only got pulled over once because he was going the wrong way down a one-way road. Family has been his priority. That's been maintained for all morning. His children, Luann, Alexander, husband Craig, Jeff and wife Tammy of Burnett. God has blessed them with 4 grandchildren, Sonia Denton and Chris, Sky Hullum and Becca, Shayla Cunningham and Brandon, all of Burnett. We like that part. Now, I know that Sonia and Starla sometimes didn't get along, but we know when they got older that they communicated. Because you may have noticed the names of their children: Journey, Jet, Jackson, Jagger, Judd, and Jace. Not necessarily in that order. I don't know when they decided that or who decided that first. I know that Chris and Jordan didn't have anything to do with it, but they just went along. But family has been their life. I like the story of how that he was so involved in so many things, but the story I want to really start with, imagine once again back 76 so years ago, 46 to 47, a little town square was a lot different than it is now, but it was still a town square, and everybody went there on Saturday night, and Thomas was no different. He and a buddy were in one of Thomas's cars, and I know that you know, because you know Thomas, it wasn't a new car. It was probably one that was 8 or 10 years old, and it ran, but it probably was not the best looking car around the square. So Thomas and his buddy head off to the town to go around the square. It was Saturday night after all, and they saw two pretty girls walking toward the square, and they had to stop, and they said, "Y'all want to ride?" You see Thomas's big smile, because you always saw it. And Bernice said, "Sure." Her and her friend jump in the car, and they head to the square. Well, Bernice says that it didn't work out too well for the other couple. But since that time, Bernice and Thomas were sweethearts. 2 years later, when she was 18 and Thomas was 19, March 26th of 1949, they got married. This March would have been 75 years. Once again, there's not very many that can first live that long and then live married that long. And that talks about family. That talks about his commitment to the person that he was with. Now, Bernice says they didn't start off very well. They started off, and they're living with his grandmother when he was in barber school. And then after they got married, they had to pay $18 a month for their apartment. And Bernice says they barely could make rent. Barbering, of course, was his life, and because it was his life, he knew people were going to be his life. One of the great things we'll always remember about Thomas was that he loved the underdog. People that were down on their luck, needed encouragement, didn't seem to stand a chance, he would often give them a chance. He would often give them an ear. He would, more times than the family knows, would give them a haircut. Nobody knows how many haircuts Thomas may have given away. But he knew that was one way to help them out. Thomas wasn't one of those outwardly gregarious type guys who did everything to be seen and recognized, but he would help people, and his generosity was known and felt by so many that are here today. He loved his church. Seldom was there a time when he was not in service. He and Bernice were not here. He believed what the Hebrew author wrote when he said, "Let us consider how we can spur one another on forward to love and to good deeds." Not giving up meeting together, but doing what you can to do good works and encourage one another. I think, Bernice, you and Thomas practiced that all your life, that you really wanted to be with other people. Now, you'd think sometimes he's with people every day, all the day long, he'd want to get away, but he never did want to get away. He always wanted to be around the people that he loved. You know, so much has changed in the past 90 years, but can you imagine you allowing your 7th or 8th grade son or daughter to ride a school bus driven by a 16-year-old Thomas Hullum? Times have changed, haven't they? And then there was a story, the family will have to fill in the details, that I thought was kind of incredible because he was living in the age when Bonnie and Clyde were famous. Now, there are a few here in the audience that may have been living then, but they had a store out at Shady Grove Road, and Thomas, grandma, I believe it was worried that they were going to be in trouble. And when Bonnie and Clyde were coming through this area, she made him get in a closet and hide for half a day. So that Bonnie and Clyde wouldn't get him. So that's one of those stories that maybe a Thomas story that you'll have to deal with. But he was always willing to help, no matter what your background, color, or nationality. He was known for picking up hitchhikers and giving people rides who would need ride. And the family says, you remember Edmund, one of those that he gave rides to an awful lot years and years ago. He loved auctions. He did that for almost 40 years. Now, Bernice didn't like it at first, but it grew on her. When Sonia was younger and helped at the auctions by writing out tickets with the help of Uncle, who's Jeff, to keep her straight on the numbers and the amounts. Thomas was known for putting a variety of junk. Some of y'all have been to those auctions where you get a box and there's just a whole bunch of stuff thrown in there. None of it's worth anything, but maybe together it'd be worth something. Well, Thomas would throw this junk together, and hopefully together it'd be worth at least $1. He'd say, who want $1? Who want $1? Who give me $1? Who give me $1? Well, nobody would give $1. So he said, sold to number 9. Thomas is always number 9. Jeff thinks that there's some of those boxes still in the barn. But that was Sonia's experience. I don't think she hung in there very long with them, but auctions were a time they spent together. And if you want to know where Thomas was, if he wasn't in the barbershop on Saturday, he was in Wimberley. Or monitoring the spending when they went in Canton. I'm not sure which was the most difficult. There was a time when Bernice was just spitting mad at Thomas. Now, I know that didn't happen very often, but one time he came home with a box full of toothpastes. Paid $60 for a box of toothpaste. You've already heard the story that Brent told about, you buy stuff and then it's junk at first and then it's an antique. Well, in the case of the toothpaste, he took it to the barbershop, sold it for $1 a tube, doubled his money. It's amazing. I don't think he passed that trade on. Did he, Luann? No. Craig's not saying anything. But Thomas could sell anything. He could sell anything. He loved woodworking. He would cut out and put together, and Bernice would paint, and Luann would stencil all these holiday decoration things, name trees for your yards. I'm guessing a lot of us have those that he built, but he did not like to be idle. There's another story about Sky that was similar to the other story, but Sky was working with Pappy on some of those projects one time, and Sky asked, "Don't you think it's time for a break?" Pappy said, "Sure, take a break." Well, Sky took a break. Pappy kept working. But we find out that he could cut hair all day and then go to an auction late at night. He loved working. But Bernice did say that some time ago he came home from work and says, "I'm going to retire." He sat down for a moment and I guess looked out the window and saw that there was weeds out in the pasture. And so he goes out to the porch, grabs a hoe, and starts hoeing weeds. Does that for a little while, comes back in. He says, I think I'm going back to work. He was one of those guys. The ultimate people person, ultimate Bulldog fan. And another interesting fact is I didn't know, but he loved reading. Of course, there was a few times when there weren't men in the barbershop to talk, and so he did get to read on occasion. Got a story, too, about Jeff. I know y'all are going to like this. Luann's a perfect child. She never did get into trouble. But then Jeff, I don't want you to know that there's been several people tell me already that they have other stories they could tell on you, but they're going to not do that. So thank Steve, and thank Brent, and thank Mark, and thank some others that they're not getting to tell all your stories. But there's a time when Jeff was old enough to drive and out running around and knew he had a curfew. Whenever he's gone, he had to be in at a certain time. And this was always, of course, way before the time of cell phones, and he was headed home, and when he headed home, he'd stop and he'd call Dad, say, "I'm on my way home." Well, the thing about it was when he called, it was already the curfew time. But he was on his way home, and one of these times, he was just hauling it through Burnett, trying to get to the house as quick as he could. Well, as he was hauling it through Burnett, he saw a police officer. He was going so fast, the police officer turned around and got him. This is about Wallace Riddell Park, all right down the road here, and pulled him over. And all Jeff wanted to do was, this cop, would you hurry up and give me the ticket so I could get home? Well, he finally got the ticket, and he finally made it on home, and he saw that his parents weren't home. So he said, "I'm going to hurry up. I'm going to get dressed for bed. I'm going to get in bed. I'm going to be asleep." So he gets in bed, asleep, eyes closed, and he hears his dad walking down the hall, knocking on the door, and Thomas says, "Your watch break?" Now, Jeff's wondering how in the world did they know that? Well, all along, they were sitting at Miller's watching all this go down because they had a police scanner. And they knew when he got pulled over, and they were there to watch the whole thing. Now, Jeff tells the story a lot better, but that's how much difficulty Jeff caused his mom and dad. But I think another story is good, too, that Jeff tells. This is Thomas, I think Thomas humor in the case of his son, and he didn't mind embarrassing his son. But after the tornado in the mid-70s, Jeff was, I think, was in middle school, and during the tornado, Thomas's truck was blown over on its top, and all the windows got blown out. Well, Jeff didn't tell me the story about how they got the truck back upright, but the truck got back upright and it ran. Well, the next day, Thomas is going to take Jeff to school in this truck that part of the cab has been down, and Jeff's got to scrunch in to get in there. And Jeff's embarrassed to death. He didn't want to be seen by his friend in a truck that has no windows. You know, Thomas was never ashamed of his vehicles. It was not a source of pride to him. As long as they ran, it was okay. Well, as Jeff was scrunched down in his seat and they were nearing the school, he said, "Dad, it's all right if you drop me off a block early." And Thomas evidently couldn't hear then either. And instead of dropping him off early, he turned on the windshield wipers. And there was no windshield. But Jeff survived. I think some Thomas humor. He was just trying to communicate with his son. Often on these outings that Jeff would go on when he'd get home, Bernice and Thomas would say, "What have you been doing?" "Oh, we've just been messing around." Okay. But there was a time when Thomas and Bernice were gone longer than they should have been gone. He'd done the hair, cut the hair, and he's gone to an auction. And the auction, they weren't home from the auction yet. It was like midnight, and it was getting to be 1. Jeff was worried, and so Jeff went one direction to find him, and another person went another direction to find him. And in the meantime, they got home after they'd gone to Lampasas and Atlanta and looking on the roads wherever they might have been. Finally, they get home. And when they get home and Jeff asks them, "Where have y'all been?" Thomas answered, "Just messing around." At 1:30 or 2 in the morning. Jeff and Luann would be fussed at by some of you because in the heat of the summer, in the cold of the winter, they'd be seen on the roof, cleaning up a building, or doing something around, mowing a yard, and they'd say, "Jeff, don't you know your parents are too old to do all that stuff? Tell them not to do all that. Get them in the house. Get them safe." And you know how most men are, and a lot of other people are. You can't tell them what to do when they want to do what they want to do. And Thomas and Bernice were one of those that you just never could keep them from doing all of those amazing things. The family says that vacations were rare for the Hullums. Once they were headed to the coast to go on a several-day vacation, but they only got as far as Pleasanton because one of those really nice vehicles that Thomas always drove broke down. But Luann thought it was great because they got to spend the night in the motel, they got to swim in the little pool, and it was great, even though they never made it to the coast. I've already been told about Starla and Sonia's trip to Arkansas with them, and how important that was to them. Married 75 years. You know why they were married 75 years? Because Thomas called Bernice love. Or he would say, "I love every stitch of you." The family says he was always doting on her, helping her. You saw the picture a while ago with him carrying her purse. He would carry her purse, and then he'd have his arm on her elbow. I don't know how many times I saw him either go walking into a ball game or walking into worship, and he would have his hand on her elbow, always helping her out. And the family says they didn't know how much Dad did for Bernice in these last few years. When Thomas was unable to do all those things they normally did together, you know, they're kind of that one of those couples that together they were able to do everything they needed to do. And they're one of those couples that when he went to the hospital, as I understood, they had never been apart for a night or a few times their whole life. So that's some of those things that caused their love to be as strong as it was. Another thing that he did, you couldn't beat him to the other side of the car because he is always there to open the door, always there to walk right beside her, always there to be together. I believe when we think about love and the love that he demonstrated to Bernice, and it's obvious is what the children said and the grandchildren said about his behavior and how he treated all of us, that Jesus' statement, "A new commandment I give you, that you love one another, because by this all men will know you are my disciples if you have love for one another." I believe that Thomas's Christianity was lived and demonstrated daily in his life as he demonstrated love to others, as he helped those who were in need, how he was considerate of what he could do to encourage and make your day better. And I believe that was a guiding principle for his life and the legacy that he's living for his family. Following his stroke, though, his mind was still pretty sharp. The irritating thing about hospitals and nursing homes, every staff person sometimes asks all these same questions. If you've been in a hospital recently, you know all these same questions. 12 people come in 12 minutes, and they all ask you the same questions. Irritate anybody else? Well, it irritated Thomas. Just a few days, he would all these questions, and they were in the nursing home, and the evaluator came in and asked him all those same questions. How old are you? What is your name? Where do you live? You know, well, this particular day, Thomas didn't answer the right answers. He had totally off-the-wall answers. So the evaluator goes in the cafeteria and finds Jeff. He says, "Jeff, your dad's not answering any of these questions right." So Jeff goes back to the room, asks the dad all the questions. Nothing wrong with Dad's memory. Can you see the smile, the smirk on Thomas's face? He just got one over on all these people that want to ask the same question. Now, if you're in the medical field and have to ask those questions, bless you. Sometimes be considerate of how often some people have to answer those same silly questions. Anyway, I'm thankful the Lord blessed Thomas with a quick departure. I know that in the end, we sometimes don't understand all the answers to why. But I believe that because of the way his life ended, that he understood the promise of Paul. He understood the promise of Paul when Paul said, "I consider our present sufferings not worth comparing with the glory that's to be revealed." Then Paul also said, "For I'm already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time of my departure is near." And I believe this is Thomas. "I fought the good fight. I finished the course. I've kept the faith. Therefore, there's laid up for me a crown of righteousness, but not for me only, but for all that love. All that love, and all that love and follow God." I believe that was his final legacy. I want to tell you before we close, but we have a couple more songs. On my last visit with him, he was in a hospital. We were in the room alone. I was there, kneeling by his ear so he could hear. He had his eyes closed, which he did most of the time. But he had his eyes closed. He was laying back in the bed. I got next to his ear and said, "Good afternoon, Thomas." He said, "Hi, preacher." And we chit-chatted a little while, and he said, "Oh, thank Darlene for the chocolate pie." I said, "Okay, I'll do that." We talked about life. We talked about his family. And I asked him, or he made the statement in answer to one of the questions. He says, "I'm ready to go home." I said, "You mean you go home to burn it?" He said, "No. I'm at peace with the Lord, and I'm ready to go home." Then he said, "But I'm concerned about Bernice." Then I made a statement to But Thomas, I need you to help me with. I told Thomas, Burnett would take care of Bernice. One of the things in the obituary that we didn't mention, he did an auction. Y'all remember Corey Fulbright and the accident that he had in that playoff game. Thomas did an auction, did a benefit auction for Corey. And then that auction raised well over $100,000. And it's because of people like you in the community like Burnett, where I could promise Thomas that Burnett would take care of Bernice. Because you have learned and become the community of a people that love one another, that we're going to take care of the people that need care. And I want to thank you for helping to fulfill that promise. That's if you can get Luann out of the way long enough to help do something for Bernice. Thank you for your time and attention today. We have a couple more songs and then concluding remarks.
Now, I may have some trouble leading this song. I had never heard it before y'all called and requested it. So Judy found on YouTube a version of this sung by Johnny Cash. I'm no Johnny Cash. But Jeff did tell me that if I had trouble singing this, that Sonia would be glad to come up and lead it for me. So let's sing that. Oh, and if you're a music nerd, the melody is going to be in the alto line as you read along. If you know this song, you know there's a soprano, an alto, and a bass part that goes in there too. I'm not singing those. I'm singing the alto line, and you're welcome to sing it with me. All right, let's sing. Soon we'll come to the end of life's journey, and perhaps we'll never meet anymore, till we gather in heaven's bright city, far away on that beautiful shore. If we never meet again this side of heaven, as we struggle through this world and its strife, there's another meeting place somewhere in heaven, by the side of the river of life, where the charming roses bloom forever, and where separations come no more. If we never meet again this side of heaven, I will meet you on that beautiful shore. Oh, so often we're parted with sorrow. Benedictions often quicken our pain, but we never shall sorrow in heaven. God be with you till we meet again. If we never meet again this side of heaven, as we struggle through this world and its strife, there's another meeting place somewhere in heaven, by the side of the river of life, where the charming roses bloom forever, and
and where separations come no more. If we never meet again this side of heaven, I will meet you on that beautiful shore. Oh, they say we shall meet by the river, where no storm clouds ever darken the sky. And they say we'll be happy in heaven, in that wonderful sweet by and by. If we never meet again this side of heaven, as we struggle through this world and its strife, there's another meeting place somewhere in heaven, by the side of the river of life, where the charming roses bloom forever, and where separations come no more. If we never meet again this side of heaven, I will meet you on that beautiful shore. You've been sitting for quite a while. Let's stand as we sing I'll Fly Away together to close out our singing. Some glad morning when this life is over,
with Thomas, we had a prayer. I hadn't been in Thomas's presence very much when we were together, just he and I praying. But we prayed, I prayed, and then as I finished that prayer, Thomas said a prayer. He said, Lord, thank you for my family. He said, thank you for the life you've given to me. And thank you for the community that I have lived in. summary, I believe, of what was really important to Thomas, and maybe what needs to be really important to us. As we celebrate his life and his legacy, it can't be done in just an hour or so. 94 years is a long time. 75 plus years to cut hair is a long time. To be a part of this community like so many others, it's a long time. So may you and I, as we depart today, understand the importance of life together as children of God, as community, and as people who want to demonstrate love in the best way we can. Following the prayer, we're going to hear Somewhere My Love, Bernice and Thomas's song. Heavenly Father, I'm thankful today that you've given us this time to celebrate a life that was lived in service to his family, to his community, to his faith. We thank you for the memories, and I ask that you give the people here the time and the energy to find someone in the family and let them know the special memories they have, the special stories they had, to allow Thomas's life and love and legacy to continue to live on. And in all this, Father, help us to honor you, to glorify you as we encourage one another day by day, and as we seek to offer and demonstrate the grace that you've given us that enables us to be saved and to be your children and to be promised a life eternal with you. Thank you for these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Somewhere, my love, there will be songs to sing. Although the snow covers the whole of spring, somewhere a hill blossoms in green and gold, and there are dreams, all that your heart can hold. Someday we'll meet again, my love. Someday, whenever the spring breaks through, you'll come to me out of the long ago, warm as the wind, soft as the kiss of snow. Till then, my sweet, think of me now and then. Godspeed, my love, till you are mine again. Out on my own, think of me now and then. Godspeed, my love, till you are mine.